Alright, people, midweek report time. So, a lot to talk about, a lot to preview, a lot to. People were commenting on the video I did. We're talking about the Fury Usyk press conference, start with that, right? And a lot of people were surprised that I didn't get the Hitman Agent 47 reference. I've only played one Hitman game my whole life, and it wasn't for me. I played it, I liked it, I forget, it was on the Xbox 360, so it was an older game. Never got into the Hitman series. Like I said, I'm a GTA, Assassin's Creed. I used to be a big Call of Duty game player back in the day, up until kind of Black Ops 2. So they'd be kind of the games I would have always played, and I didn't bring any like PlayStation or anything over to London with me, so that kind of says I'm not missing it. So I didn't get the Agent 47 reference at all, but that was apparently what Oleksandr Usyk was referencing to the Hitman games. So I know now. I do know of the games, but I just didn't know the reference. In terms of the press conference, I'm not going to labour too long on it. It was an interesting watch, to say the least. It wasn't as entertaining as the press conference they had in London last year, because that was really something else. You know, you've seen Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, it's like the polar opposite this year to how he was last year at the press conference. Because last year he was, all up in Oleksandr Usyk's face, shouting. For me, it seemed like he was angry that he was. I don't want to say he was necessarily angry that he was there, but in a way almost. But it almost seemed like he was angry that he was in this position, that he had to go ahead and fight Oleksandr Usyk. That to me is just how it seemed. Just from the outside looking in, that was how it seemed. This time around, Tyson Fury, I asked the question, was he humbled? And that's a good question, because I think that there is an element of it there. He might not say it himself. He might not turn around and, flat out say it. But the way he was behaving at that press conference, there was that little bit of an element to it. Yeah, I thought that. He had been saying in previous interviews with IFL, with Boxing Social, Box Nation, etc., that, I need to knock him out this time, I need to do this. They won't give me the decision. Trying to push that narrative that Oleksandr Usyk got the decision because of the conflict in his country, which is complete nonsense. And as I said, I gave my 2 cents on that. I think it was a horrible thing to say. But now he's talking about, look, it was a close fight. For me, it wasn't a close fight, but okay, you want to hold on to the split decision. I get that. I'm sure Willie Hutchinson will do that against Joshua Buatsi and say, it was a split decision. It shouldn't have been, but okay. But you're accepting the loss, and you're accepting things need to change, and you're accepting things need to prove. That's good. That's good. That tells me, and I've already done a video on this, I haven't uploaded it, it's going to go out tomorrow. That tells me that we're going to see a better Tyson Fury. And that's actually making me believe that we are going to see a particularly interesting fight come December the 21st. And it has me looking forward to it. Now, I know there are some people out there who are saying, gee, I don't think we'll get it. I don't think we'll get it. Look, everyone, of course, is entitled to their own opinion. I know with Tyson Fury, he definitely gives you reason to think that, certainly. I do think we'll get this card. I think we'll get this fight, I should say. I think if we don't get the fight, look, we will. I think we will. I think we'll still get the card. They'll chuck something in there in the meantime, just a headline. But I do think we will get this fight, and I think it's going to be particularly good. In terms of Oleksandr Usyk, yes, he went as Agent 47. Thank you for that. I appreciate people telling me that was the reference, because I was wondering. I was looking at it. I wasn't watching it live, obviously, with you guys, but I was watching it. I was kind of like, okay. That's the point of all this. That didn't. I now know why he did it. Fair enough. And yes, not a big fan of the Hitman games. Forgive me for that one. But I thought Oleksandr Usyk, again, as always, just stoic, one-word answers. Tyson Fury ended up impersonating him with the one-word answers. If Usyk said no, Fury said yes, and vice versa. And then the signing of the fault was, I thought, was particularly good. I think with Tyson Fury, he's just realised, look, this guy mentally, he's got something different in him that I just can't work with. Klitschko, and I think that's the thing, maybe Tyson Fury thought that it was easy to get to Vladimir Klitschko. It was never going to be the same with Oleksandr Usyk. Vladimir Klitschko was someone who needed every advantage he could get, in spite of the fact he was miles more talented than those he was fighting, which was really strange. Oleksandr Usyk goes to their backyard. I mean, Vladimir Klitschko, when he was in his prime, when he was having his run, he made sure everyone came to where he wanted. And even when he had to travel, like against Povetkin, you could tell. I mean, Louis Pabon is a good referee, but that one night, he just forgot everything about being a good referee. Really? Yeah, don't think so. Oleksandr Usyk is not cut from that. He is 100% professional, switched on, and just something different. He's just cut different breed, just cut differently. In terms of the press conference, as I said, it was all right. There was nothing spectacular about it. We did see the undercard. We saw Low IQ and what was his name? Lee McGregor. We saw Johnny Fisher and Moses Helma sat together, them talking to one another about a potential fight. I like what Johnny Fisher is a fighter. It's very hard not to like him. I know some people don't like the Essex gimmick, the Bosch and stuff like that, but for me, I like a fighter whose feet are firmly on the ground. They're willing to improve, but they're not acting like they're the finished article before they've improved. And that's what Johnny Fisher said. Johnny Fisher, I'm going to paraphrase here, but he basically said, look, I'm not Arsenal, I'm not Madrid, I'm not Man City, I'm Stoke, but I'm a tough away night for anybody. Now, I don't know if it was Stoke back in the day were a decent mid-table Premier League squad. Not really now. I'd say you're more unfortunately, you're more a Man United these days. Unfortunately. But yes, you are that type of fighter. You're a tough fight for anybody, but, you're never going to be challenging at the top end of the table with your Man Cities and Arsenals. I get that. And I respect that from Johnny Fisher. But he is willing to improve. And you never know. I mean, I'm sure Johnny Nelson never would have thought he would have been a world champ. He lost his first 3 professional fights. So, and he's with a good trainer in Mark Tibbs. They're obviously in there against respective opponents. Obviously, Dempsey McKean against Moses Helma, which I think is a great fight for him at this stage of his career. Dave Allen, on the other hand, for Johnny Fisher. Look, yeah, I don't want to come down too harsh on Dave Allen. I like his YouTube channel, but yikes. That's all I got to say on that one. And this might be the first clean stoppage loss, because he's been stopped a few times, but never properly clean and down. This might be the first one, because I think he hits a lot harder Johnny Fisher than Fraser Clark, who was the last person to fight and stop Dave Allen. And I think Dave Allen is going to come to fight more because he knows he has that YouTube following behind him. I mean, I don't think he's got 10k subs yet, but we like a Dave Allen video, we watch him, and it's very good insight. His channel into what goes on and behind the scenes in boxing and everything is very interesting to listen to. But I think we'll see a clean Dave Allen loss, a clean stoppage to Johnny Fisher. And if Moses Helma and Fisher ever meet, I know Helma gave an interview with Box Nation last week where he said that he could end his career if they met. I'd be making Helma firm favourite. Firm favourite. I mean, 19 years old, pro less than 2 years, fighting a former world ranked opponent, recently world ranked opponent as well, as opposed to 25 years old, pro now nearly 4 years, fighting Dave Allen. There's a big difference. Big difference. That was interesting. In terms of the press conference in general, look, I would have loved to have got to it. I was in Dagenham yesterday. I never would have got to the press conference, unfortunately. If it was today, I would have got to it because I'm home today. There it is. But that was that. In terms of some of the other news that's going on, and I guess this kind of links into Fury versus Usyk news to an extent. I've just done a video on it. Eddie Hearn has indicated that Anthony Joshua might not be ready in time to take the Daniel Dubois rematch in February and could instead fight Tyson Fury in May. AJ wants revenge, but the only issue is time, and for the rematch to happen in February, training camp will have to start in a couple of weeks. There are always niggles, and he has a few, so physically it's just a case of whether AJ is ready to do it. It would be frustrating if we made the Dubois rematch and Fury won versus Usyk. Then we're sitting there going, hang on, we're fighting Dubois. We could have fought Fury in May for the biggest fight in boxing. So I've already done a video on this, so you probably would have already heard my thoughts on it. Whilst I agree with Eddie Hearn in one sense that the Dubois rematch is way too soon to be happening in February, because again, physically you've taken a big beating, neurologically you just don't know what's happening up there. You hear fighters who've been concussed in the ring, who've been knocked out badly, who say they're really still feeling it, 8-9 months later, maybe even more than that. So you don't know what way neurologically he's going to be. And mentally as well, Anthony Joshua has never been beaten. He's been beaten, but never quite like that. Never quite like that. So you don't know what way he's going to handle that mentally. So the longer you leave it and give him time to rehab and recover, the better it can be. But if Fury does beat Oleksandr Usyk, to go from losing, and not even losing in a close competitive nip and tuck fight where you could make a case he's won, to go in there and get dropped repeatedly, heavily, and then taken out with one punch, To go from that straight into a fight with the winner of a unification, say it is Tyson Fury, that's just wrong to me. I'm sorry, but that is just wrong to me. That's not the way it should be. And if that's the way boxing is going, things need to be put in place. I know the WBO always make it as though you need to have a win to be able to be eligible to challenge for their titles. So you can't challenge for the WBO title coming off the back of a loss. The IBF don't seem to have that rule, and the other two, I mean, what rules? I mean, honestly, when I talk about rules with sanctioning bodies, it's just the WBO and IBF I'm referring to, because the other two, they just, this is our rule book. Is it? Yeah. Oh yeah, there's nothing in it. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Who would have thought? I'd never would have guessed. That's what the other two are like. But the WBO have been steadfast in that rule, and I think that other sanctioning bodies need to follow suit, because that's just not right to me. If Anthony Joshua, say Tyson Fury beats Oleksandr Usyk, which could happen, it's not inconceivable. For me, that's just not right. That Joshua can fight in September, be absolutely annihilated by Daniel Dubois, and then that gives Joshua a world title shot against Tyson Fury? No. No. Now, if it's Tyson Fury versus Joshua in May of next year, and Fury comes in off a loss, well, yeah, that's fine, because, both guys coming in off a loss, it's still a big fight. But yes, both guys coming in off a loss, there's no title on the line. The winner can maybe potentially look to challenge for a title in the future or put himself back in contention. That's all well and good, but certainly not if it's for the full, WBO, IBF, etc. It won't be for the IBF, but WBA, WBC, it shouldn't be for that, no way. So I hope we're not moving into a time in boxing where that's becoming the norm, because we have seen it. We've seen them try and do it with Josh Warrington versus Kakache. Tim Tszyu recently fought, and that's the interesting thing. The IBF didn't sanction Warrington versus Kakache because Warrington was coming at the back of two losses. Two losses. But yet they would sanction Tim Tszyu in his fight that he lost over the weekend when he was coming off the back of a loss. I mean, that just it makes no sense. Don't have one rule for one and one for another. Just, no, you're not getting a title shot. You come in off a loss, irrespective of how competitive it was, win a fight, and then you can fight for the title. There you go. That's how it should be. But as I said, we seem to be coming into this stage in boxing where this is becoming the norm, and I don't like it, personally. I don't like it. In terms of what that means then for Daniel Dubois, well, if I was Daniel Dubois, I'd be actually reading that and I'd be annoyed for a variety of reasons. I'd be reading that and I'd be annoyed because I'd be saying, well, hang on a minute, that's an easy payday, in their opinion, against Anthony Joshua for a rematch. He's already beaten the guy once. I'm sure he'd have all the confidence in the world that he could do it again. And second of all, if, say, Fury does win, where does that leave him? Because Daniel Dubois, Don Charles has talked about it, they want undisputed. And of course, if you're a champion, that's what you want to be doing. You want to be unifying, you want to be getting undisputed. Well, Daniel Dubois, how is he going to fight for undisputed if Joshua jumps him in the queue? And he's beaten Anthony Joshua. So I wouldn't be surprised if Team Dubois are a little bit aggrieved by that statement that Eddie Hearn left out there about Joshua potentially waiting to see what happens with Tyson Fury. Because I would be. I mean, if you beat the guy, you would think, well, look, I've no fight lined up. It does, though, mean that Dubois has no mandatory, because no mandatory's been called. There's an eliminator between Bacoli, I think it's Bacoli and Caballel. So it frees him up for a fight. Zhilei Zhang, anybody? I mean, there you go. Zhilei Zhang, Moses Atelma. I know people have mentioned it. Listen, I wouldn't pick Atelma to beat Daniel Dubois at this moment in time. But listen, God loves a trier. And if he doesn't break Mike Tyson's record, at least he can actually say he has legitimately tried. He's legitimately gone in there and tried. I wouldn't be picking him, but at least he can say he's done that. In terms of other fights that are out there, I mean, I'm just trying to think what other fights you could do, because if Joe Joyce had beaten Chisora, I would have said that's the fight to make. Just do a rematch, pop it on pay-per-view, do it in the UK, do it here in the O2 and in London, and you're happy out. Who do you put him in there with now? I would love to see the Zhilei Zhang fight. I would favour Dubois in that fight. Zhilei Zhang is calling for a fight, so there you go. Joseph Parker is long overdue a world title shot. And again, I think that fight will be tougher than the Anthony Joshua fight, just because of styles. Parker can be a bit negative, he can move, he can be a bit defensively savvy. But I would pick Daniel Dubois to beat Joseph Parker at this point in his respective career. So there's options there. And at the end of the day, Dubois, he didn't take any punishment in that Joshua fight. Barely any. So he's ready to go December, January next year. And Frank Warren needs to make hay while the sun shines. He's very good at that. People are talking about Dubois now. Get him out on a big show. Get him headlined here in London. There you go. You've got a world champion in your stable, so let's see. He's free now to defend that title. So make the most of it. They don't come around very often, especially with the IBF. In terms of fight cards that are happening this weekend, we obviously have the Jack Catterall Regis Prograis card. I was going to say the Matchroom show. It is a Matchroom. I was like, that's Matchroom. Yeah, it is Matchroom. Up in Manchester. And on paper, it's actually not a bad card, to be fair. Joe McGrail is on there against Lewis Morris. That's just a bit of a kind of run-of-the-mill, there you go fight. But James Flint rematching Campbell Hatton. You know, they fought last March. I was thinking, when did they fight? Because it seemed like... I was convinced Hatton had a fight in the interim. He hasn't. This is his first fight with Ben Davison. James Flint, I mean, imagine this. James Flint beats Campbell Hatton on points and then goes and loses to a guy who was 6-1. And that was for the IBO Continental title. Oh, good Lord. The IBO are even throwing trick of titles in now. Jesus, times must be tough. So that's who Campbell Hatton's in there with. Look, again, you know, I said it earlier, God loves a trier. And I don't fault Campbell Hatton for trying. I mean, he could try and make money in an easier way. He doesn't need to box, but he's doing it. And, you know, again, all the credit to him. If he's not beating James Flint, then... And he lost that fight soundly. You know, some would say, it was competitive. No, he lost that fight soundly. So, listen, if he doesn't beat him this time... I know he's only a kid. Like, how old is Campbell Hatton? 23 years old. I don't think Ben Davison can work miracles. And I think you just have someone there who just doesn't have it. And I feel bad for Campbell Hatton because he's trying, I think, to emulate his dad. Look, his dad was Ricky Hatton. He was brilliant. Plenty of sons who go into fight and don't emulate their parents. Steve Collins Jr. was absolutely garbage. Chris Eubank Jr. never won a world title. Conor Benn will never be as good as his old man. There's no shame in it. You're trying, but, you know, you sometimes just don't have it. Pat McCormick is back out. I like watching Pat McCormick, actually, I have to say. And Reece Bellotti versus Michael Gomez Jr. That's going to be a belter. Lock in for that one. That's going to be flipping epic. That's going to be a belter. And Jack Catterall versus Regis Prograis in the main event. Yeah, listen, Regis Prograis, I thought he had more left in the tank than he did. That Devin Haney fight really showed me that, oh wow, Prograis doesn't have as much in the tank as I actually thought he does. Having said that, Catterall should win this fight, but if we get a Prograis who fought Kieran Relic, remember him? We get him who fought Josh Taylor, then Prograis wins. I just don't see him winning this fight. I mean, that fight right there was just, yeah. Ben Shalom asked if he'll put Ben Whittaker straight back in with Liam Cameron for an immediate rematch. I do believe that's the fight. I do. However, I need him to take some time, do his rehab, make sure he comes back fully fit and focused. Focused, Ben Shalom, is the crucial word. Focused. I don't think Ben Whittaker focuses enough. And yes, you should rematch Liam Cameron because he lost that fight for my money. And that was a... Look, I'm sure he banged his knee or banged his ankle, I think it was. But look, yeah. Ben Whittaker's stock went from there right down to there. I mean, it's lowered no man's balls now, his stock. So, there you go. Naoya Inoue will defend his undisputed super bantamweight world titles against Sam Goodman on Christmas Eve 2024. I'm sorry, I just have to smile when I hear about that, you know, because I'll tell you why. 21st of December is a Saturday. We are getting Fury versus Usyk 2. Can't wait. Looking forward to the card. I think it's going to be epic. Going to be home for it. Do a live watch along. Christmas Eve is a Tuesday. And we're getting Inoue? I mean, we got him on Boxing Day last year. And now we're getting him on Christmas Eve. I mean, honestly, just epic. I don't know if any of you guys seen this. I seen Michael Benson post this. I never heard of this guy. Idris, oh good lord, how do you say his name? Abdorshov lost his pro boxing debut. And I had a look at this fight. He was getting battered. And he lost it by DQ when he did a massive kick to his opponent. I mean, knocked him spark out. You're never going to look for a kick in a boxing match. And if it's on YouTube, but it's on Twitter, X I should say. If you haven't seen it, have a look at it. It was absolutely... I mean, MMA guys, some of them can make the transition like that. Some can't. This guy certainly can't. Bob Arum has said that the picture of health that he is, Dan Raphael, Mr. Universe, men's fitness expert, all those good things, that Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol could have to have an interim fight in the time being because Turkey wants them to open Riyadh season next year. So we might not get a rematch up until next year. Therefore, what would that mean for Artur Beterbiev's undisputed titles? Because he's got a mandatory call with the IBF, which I'm assuming he'll have to take. Who would Dmitry Bivol fight in the interim? I mean, the world is oyster. He can fight whoever he chooses. But that is an interesting one. And if they leave it till next year, the longer they leave that rematch, the more it favours Bivol. Because if they leave it till October next year, Beterbiev's going to be on the cusp of 41 years old. So he's not getting any younger. He's not going to get any better. So they need to make hay while the sun shines on that one. Because I do think it could eventually come down to a case of Bivol beating Beterbiev. Not necessarily because he's the more improved or the better fighter, but just because Father Time came in and said, listen, you couldn't beat him, I'll handle this. And we don't want that. You don't want to see a fight be determined by Father Time. So I would say make hay while the sun shines with that fight, because we don't know if Beterbiev will even be around in the sport of boxing in 12 months' time. So I would say get a move on with that one. In terms of everything else, people, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed the video. Plenty more coming out this weekend. Looking forward to this weekend. So we've boxing on Saturday. I'm going with the Milton Keynes to see my cousins on Sunday, and it's a bank holiday in Ireland, and I'm in London, and because my contract is Irish, I get the bank holiday too. So it's a pretty good weekend. I'm pretty pleased with that. I've done well. I've done well with that, haven't I? I've done well with that. So I'm ultimately very happy with that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. Peace.